it's Jai452 back again inside the land of cosplay, doing Inside Cosplay. My special guest this week is none other than Dustin S. Time. Hi, Dustin.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. So I'm just going to jump right in there because we've got a bunch of questions that I'm going to ask you. And I'm going to ask you, first of all, when did you first start cosplaying?
I first started cosplaying when I was about 17 or 18 years old.
Awesome. And do you remember what your first cosplay was?
My first cosplay was Sherry Birkin from Resident Evil 6.
Uh-huh. So what was the reason for going with that particular cosplay?
She's always just been a favorite character of mine. I liked seeing her when she was little, and at that time I was about the age she was when we first saw her as a little girl, and then I kind of just grew up being the same age consistently as that character, so she was definitely a character that I liked.
Awesome. Who or what inspired you to cosplay?
I got inspired by a lot of cosplay music videos.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things where I saw people in costumes that they made and put a lot of hard work into having a lot of fun, and it's I want to be a part of that community. I want to dance and twirl around and have a lot of fun.
So is there anyone in particular that you look up to in terms of cosplay?
In terms of cosplay, I really look up to Moderately Okay Cosplay, as well as Jessica Negri, and one of the people that I actually saw in one of the videos that I looked up to was Jimmy Sherfy,
Mm-hmm.
and Couture Effects, all of those people.
Awesome. I think we actually have had an interview with Jimmy Sherfy, which is coming soon. At this particular point in time, it's coming soon.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for that. Actually, it should be up before this interview comes out, so it should be on the playlist somewhere, guys. So, have you had the opportunity to meet any of your cosplay inspirations before and work with them?
I've had a lot of opportunities. I'm actually friends with a lot of my cosplay friends, or all of the people that I looked up to. I'm actually friends with them on Facebook now, so I've definitely talked to them and had a chance to interact with them and get information on why do you like cosplay, if there's a particular cosplay of theirs that I've seen. Hey, just wondering how did you make this work or this work. So yeah, I definitely got a chance to meet and interact with a lot of the people that I found as inspiration.
And what was that like, working with some of those particular people? Did you get starstruck by any of them?
Oh, I definitely did. It's always when somebody that you look up to notices you and goes, hey, this is how I did this, and then they continue to interact with you and you become friends. It's it's an amazing feeling.
Is there anyone in particular where you just they kind of said, oh, I really loved your insert cosplay character here, and you're just
there's one, Taco Royama. I posted, it wasn't a cosplay selfie, it was more of just a funny image that I posted of, I was playing a joke on my friend where I made a face as I poked around the corner and she took a picture of it. Taco Royama actually saw it and he commented, same, and when I saw that comment I'm like, oh my god.
I think I had a similar instance. You know, it's so weird. And this is somebody that I have interviewed and is up on my channel at this time. I started my cosplay career as Harley Quinn. or like my version of Harley Quinn kind of thing. And I did an interview with Chris Villain, who at the time was known for doing cosplay music videos, as well as going to cosplay like events and such likes. And he commented, I think, or liked a couple of the posts that I put up recently, both on Instagram and Facebook. And when I seen that, I was like, crap, you know. But he's such a nice guy, you know, and when I did get the opportunity to speak and interview him, I got so much information off of him. It was just so insane and so great. And so down to earth as well. Like, I love the fact that a lot of these, like, cosplay celebrities are so down to earth. You know, they're
yeah.
so nice. So, my next question for you, and this is where we start to break the questions up a little bit, is what has been the most challenging cosplay that you've ever done, both from the making of a costume and the acting as the character? Because cosplayers always have to act a little bit as the character they're cosplaying as, whether that be in the way that the character talks, moves, or just would interact with another individual. So let's talk about the most challenging from the making of a costume, because I know that you've been putting together a Belle costume as of late.
Yeah. I'd say that one is definitely the most difficult by far. Mm-hmm. Just because there are certain fabrics that are very character specific that you can't find anywhere. Because obviously Disney has enough money to make their own patterns, and a lot of fabric companies don't have the resources to make their own patterns. They just kind of get patterns from different people who make fabrics and things like that. But there are a lot of things on it that I actually had to hand paint. Like, she has a red bit that has blue dots on it, and they're sectioned and they're aligned. I had to do that. And then there's a lot of stripes on her pouches and the one thing that she ties around her waist. And then the bloomers have a very specific pattern that I had to make a stencil for and paint that. So all of the time and effort put into that was definitely the most difficult, just because there are fabrics that are certain to the cosplay that I can't find, and even though I can find fabrics that are close enough, they'll never really be exact. But even if I can get close enough, that's still good enough for me.
Awesome. So what has been the most challenging cosplay that you've done from the acting side of things?
The most difficult cosplay from the acting side of things would probably had to have been, say, Saragaki from Dramatical Murder. Mm-hmm. He's a character that I've never come across in the game at all. So the day of the con, I was actually in a panel where I had to be Say, and me not knowing anything about his personality, not knowing anything about the way he acts, I had to quickly play the game, still hadn't come across him in the game, had to go and find clips of him on YouTube, and even then I didn't quite have a complete understanding of his personality, so the majority of me being Say was completely like ad-libbed, and yeah.
Which brings me to a kind of nice little side question. When it comes to picking a character, do you tend to pick a character that is kind of close to your own personality, like who you are out of cosplay, or do you go for the complete opposite end of the spectrum, like a character that is so far removed from you?
I think I tend to go for characters that like kind of suit my personality a lot more. Like, obviously there are characters that I have cosplayed that don't suit me at all, such as like Alba, Say, what's another one? CL. But for the most part, the majority of my costumes suit me extremely well. Like, I cosplayed Warren Graham, and I cosplayed him because I have a bit of a nerdy side. I can get excited about movies. I can also get excited about people I like. I cosplayed as Belle because her and I have the same aspects in common, such as we grew up in a small village where we both seemed a little odd. And then Sailor Moon because I'm a bit of a klutz at times. I do get heartsick over people, and I tend to get overly emotional and cry if I fall down. And yeah, I like going for characters that I can see aspects of my personality in.
I totally see where you're coming from with Belle, because I currently live in a small town and I'm probably looked at as rather odd.
Yeah.
You know, so I think everybody can somewhat like connect with Belle on that level. You know,
Oh yeah.
I don't think it even matters if you're like male or female. It's like you'll see yourself in Belle regardless.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool thing about really almost any Disney female character. You'll see a bit of yourself in them, and you're like, how do they do it? You know, like, what's the secret?
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally understand that, and I've been actually looking at different characters to cosplay as that kind of fit my personality, and I think the funniest one that a friend of mine suggested to me, and I was just like thumbing through a magazine one day, and I was talking with my friend, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do for my next cosplay. You know, like after I've revamped my Suicide Squad Harley one, I really don't know what to do next. And they were saying, well, why don't you do Catwoman? And I was like, I would love to, but I think I need to do a male character. You know, because every character I've done so far is female. So they said male character, well, that's really, really difficult. And it wasn't until a little bit later on, but their kid came through, and he was so excited because he had, I think it was one of the near like Blu-rays or DVDs of How to Train Your Dragon, like that whole series. And he's like waving it around in his dad's face, and he's like, Dad, look, I've got the DVD, and he's like, yeah, go watch it. And he then turns to me and says, you know what? You would make a great Hiccup. And I'm like, why? He's like, because you're twitchy and self-confident and very opinionated. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. So, possibly coming in the future, guys. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I might be cosplaying as Hiccup. Maybe. But yeah, I love situations when other people come along and tell you, oh, you should do this cosplay. Because it's so like you anyway, so it's not much of a change.
There's one. I'm also looking for cosplays too, and my friend actually suggested one. Have you ever seen the music video for I Believe in a Thing Called Love?
I can't say off the top of my head that I have.
There's one person, I can probably pull it up on my phone here, but he's dressed in all spandex. He has, like, Hermione Granger in Harry Potter 1, curled hair, and he's wearing, like, a headdress and something. And my friend says, oh my god, you look like him. This is who... I found the image here. This is who she's saying I should cosplay as. And I'm just like, why? She just goes, because I can just imagine you wearing that, and that makes me smile. So
I love it when people say things like that, and you're like, yeah, you can imagine me wearing that, but me actually physically wearing it is another thing altogether.
Expectation versus reality.
Like, I love it. Here's expectation. Like, very big, long expectation. Reality.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question for you is, in your opinion, what is the most difficult thing or character to cosplay as both for yourself and something that you would possibly advise other people not to try and tackle if they're just new to cosplay. So, and we'll start with you. What do you feel is a character or cosplay creature even that you just would not want to tackle? Like, you would look at it and go, yeah, no, I need a specific skill set for that.
I'd have to say probably the Nightingales or anything from Skyrim. Just because it's so like intricate and detailed, and right now with my current skill set, because I've only been making my own costumes for about 2 years now, so I would need a lot more knowledge for what sort of materials would be used, what type of like if I had to paint something, what type of paint would be the best paint for it. Like I don't have a skill set in anything with leather or anything with armor, so that's something I stay away from just because I don't personally have the skill set for it.
Is that something that you're hoping to learn somewhere down the line?
Oh yeah, like I know how to, because I grew up on a farm with my mom and my stepdad every other week, so my stepdad basically taught me how to make my own leather, how to dye leather, so I know things like that. I just am not sure how to craft it, how to make it for myself.
Do you know the funniest thing? Like, I have a friend who does a lot of Skyrim cosplays and has actually been invited by Bethesda to attend one of their orchestra events and do some publication for them. And I remember speaking to him at one point and said, do you use any kind of like leather material for any of your cosplays? And he's like, no, I don't use any leather whatsoever. It's all like fabric based as well as like specific pieces of armor, you know?
Yeah.
So necessarily you might not need to go down the leather route. It really is up to you though, you know, as most costume decisions with any cosplayer, but there are always alternatives if one particular thing doesn't work, because I know working with leather takes a very, very long time. A very long time. So that is an option, and I will name drop this cosplayer right now, you know, Alphabeti Cosplays, so do go check him out sometime, guys, because he really is amazing when he does the Skyrim stuff as well as other cosplays that he does. So what is a character or thing that you would advise newer cosplayers to kind of like not so much stay away from, but say you need a specific skill set?
I'd probably say any big armored characters from Overwatch, like Reinhardt. Just because whenever you see a lot of people cosplay him, it's somebody who has access to like 3D printers, like the person who won the Twitch stream for their Reinhardt cosplay. It was an amazing cosplay, but I think it kind of takes it. I'm not saying that somebody just can't do it, because maybe somebody does have experience in 3D printing or things like that. But if you're just starting out, I'd say probably stay away from big projects, especially if you're like, oh, I just got into cosplay, but I can finish this cosplay in 2 weeks, because it's probably going to take months and months of work. I know for me, my first cosplay, I was like, oh yeah, it's just going to take me like 2 weeks to do, and it took me 2 months to do.
Definitely. Always leave room for cosplay, guys. Like, something that you might look at initially and think, oh, that's only going to take 5 minutes, can take 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, expansion room. And, like, another good thing there is, like, just on the cusp of that, is plan out your cosplays, especially if you're working or if you have children, or, you know, you're at college, university, school, whatever. You know, if you say, oh, I'm going to this Comic-Con, start your cosplay well in advance. You know, like 3, maybe 4 months at best, especially if you're working or have all of the above that I mentioned. Plus, it gives you time to get money together to get things for the cosplayer as well.
And it also gives you time to find resources for your costume as well.
Definitely.
I found when I was first starting out, internet forums like Cosplay Sky helped me a lot. Mm-hmm. Or not Cosplay Sky, cosplay.com. Cosplay.com helped me a lot because if you're planning to do a cosplay, there's most likely somebody who has already done it and willing to share their resources, so it's a great reference for if somebody bought it, where they got it from, if somebody bought materials, what materials they got and where they got those from.
So my next question for you is actually about Comic-Cons. Now, there are 2 types of Comic-Cons that you can go to throughout the year. There are your big once-a-year ones, like your San Diego Comic-Cons or your New York Film and Comic-Cons. But there are also your smaller, more local ones that happen maybe every 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Which out of the 2 do you prefer going to? Do you prefer going to the big once-a-year ones, or do you prefer the smaller, more local ones, or do you like a blend of the 2?
I like a blend of the 2, mostly in where I am. I'm from Alberta, but we mostly have like the once-a-year ones. So Animathon happens every August. OdaFest happens it's now happening every like July. And then they have within those ones, so Animathon has Taste of Animathon, which happens every like Christmas time, and then OdaFest Aurora, which happens every November. But for the most part, everything's like once a year. I'd say I prefer going to the ones that are every 2 or 3 months, but we don't really have cons that are every 2 or 3 months. So, but yeah, I like cosplaying anytime I can.
Awesome. So, when you're doing these events, what is the one thing that you're most excited for? And also the one thing that either used to be, or you still kind of do find most nerve-wracking? So let's start with the nerve-wracking. Like, when you're doing these events, what is the one thing that you either used to or still kind of do find a little bit nerve-wracking?
Something I find a little nerve-wracking is when I put a lot of effort into a costume and I'm afraid that nobody is going to know what I'm cosplaying from. So I just feel like everybody's going to look at me and go, oh, he's just dressed in whatever he could throw together. But it's nerve-wracking, even though I've said many times to people who say, like, don't cosplay this, it's overdone. As long as there's a fan base, somebody's going to cosplay it, and there's guaranteed to be somebody who is going to notice who you are, what you're from, and things like that. It's still nerve-wracking, even though, like I've said for 2 years, if you're cosplaying from it, there's obviously a fandom for it.
Definitely. So what is the one thing that you're most excited for when you do these events?
I just go to meet people. Like, I keep getting, I don't understand how there could be people that that are just like, oh, I don't like this person because they're cosplaying from this series, when you're in a venue with hundreds of thousands of people who obviously have the same interest as you, the same interest in anime and cosplay and things like that. But I get really excited to like meet new people. I also get excited to do panels. I hosted my first panel by myself last year in November, but I do panels at conventions as well, and I always get excited to, oh, I wonder what panels I'm going to be a part of this year, what panels I'm going to go to and go and watch.
Awesome. Now, when there's ever whenever there's a cosplay event like a Comic-Con or a small charity event, there's normally a cosplay competition or a cosplay masquerade. Have you ever entered into either the competition or masquerade before?
I entered in the Surucon competition 2 years ago. Surucon is the small convention in Red Deer, which is where I used to live. I did a performance. I performed as Ciel, which was the first costume I ever like shorts. I didn't make the socks, obviously, because why make it when you can buy socks? The undershirt, the jacket, the top hat. So the story behind this, and I always tell people a bit, basically. I entered it, and it said, "Congratulations, thank you for entering. You will be notified if you entered the competition. You will be notified if you were accepted in." I thought
we will be right back, guys. 1 second. And we're back. So you were saying about the cosplay, they were going to contact you if you got through, or?
Yeah, on the website it said you will get an email if you have been accepted or not, and I didn't get an email, so I'm like, okay, obviously I haven't been accepted. And I get to the con, and I pay for my admission, and the person who runs the con says, if you have any music or anything to give to the person for the contest, then do it before the competition. And I'm just standing there like, wait, what? They're like, yeah, you're in the contest. I'm like, but I didn't get an email. They said, no, it should have just said, thank you, you are in the contest. I'm like, no, it said I would receive a confirmation email. I never got it, so I just assumed that I wasn't in it. But I was freaking out because I was in the contest and I had no idea what I was going to do. So one of my friends, we were just standing there and we were waiting to go on stage, and my friend who also entered was standing behind me, and she goes, just do a parody of a song. So I improvised a full parody at the top of my head, and I ended up getting Best in Show at Surucon.
Yay! So, obviously winning that particular event, what was running through your head when they called you up?
Oh my god, what am I gonna do? There are so many people here. If I fuck up, that's it. I'm done.
That's kind of so interesting, because like I had an opposite effect when I did this like Halloween event one time, and I did a cross between Harley Quinn and Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I went along, had a great time, entered the competition, and just thought, I'm not going to win this. But I don't care. You know, I really don't care. I'm just here to have fun, and I've had that, and I'm filming, so I'm having even more fun. So I'm filming away, and they called up a girl who got second place for her character as Kill la Kill. Well, from the anime from Kill la Kill. A girl who was cosplaying as Mulan, but it was Mulan when she was Ping. And I swear to God, she was so great. I remember talking to her, and she was in character the full time. Like, the entire time she would introduce herself as Mulan, but then correct herself and say, I'm Ping, I'm Ping. You know, and it was so great talking to her. I loved talking to her. I just was so upset that I didn't get it on camera, because that would have been great, you know. So she got first place, and this other girl got second place. And then they said, we'd also like to welcome for third place to the stage Patchwork Harley, which is what I was calling myself that day. And I'm like standing there filming, and I'm like, oh, is there another Patchwork Harley here? You know, and I'm like looking around, and my friend's standing next to me, and he's like, that's you. Go. Go. And I'm like, no, it's not me. There's got to be somebody else here. And he called my name a second time, and I'm like, shit, this is me. Gotta go. Whole time on stage, because obviously when you win, you have to pose for pictures and such likes. Whole time on stage, I'm standing there holding my hammer, just shaking like hell, like, fuck, I won. Why me? You know? Um, and the funnier thing still, I came off stage and I had to hug like 3 people because I was so close to crying. It's like I won 3rd place. But yeah, so strange. So my next question for you is, in your opinion, what are the best and worst things that a new cosplayer can do when they're getting ready to go to a cosplay event?
I'd say the best thing would probably know that just because you're comfortable with something, like I had this instance at Taste of Anime-thon about 2 years ago where there was this girl who had no understanding of other people's personal boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
She saw somebody who was just checking in, like getting their pass for the convention, and as soon as she saw this person was all checked in, she started talking to them and moved closer to where she almost backed this person into a corner. And it wouldn't stop talking, so I kind of just came in and said, "Hey, let's go get a bite to eat." I didn't know this person. I didn't know the person that was backed into a corner, but I'm like, "Hey, let's go get a bite to eat," just so she could get away out of the corner and get, like, in a more open space. So a good thing is to know personal boundaries. Another good thing is to know hygiene. And I don't mean, like, take an Axe body spray shower. Like, get a stick of deodorant, carry it with you. Another thing, just like know people's boundaries. Know that just because you're okay with something doesn't mean that other people are okay with the same things. As for what not to do, again, don't assume people's personal boundaries, because they might end up having an anxiety attack, or they might have post-traumatic stress disorder, might have really weird flashbacks and things like that. And another thing, just be kind and considerate towards people. Like, don't be a dick at conventions. Just because you see somebody cosplaying from a series you don't like, you still don't know that person as a person. So just treat everyone with basic human decency.
Okay. And what are some of the worst things that you think someone can do at a Comic-Con event, or when a new cosplayer is getting ready to go to one?
One of the worst things, definitely not packing at least 2 nights beforehand. I had a thing at Otafest. I completely forgot the majority of one of my costumes, even though I thought I packed it. Like, I had a checklist. I checked everything off. I'm like, okay, I'm good. But there were things that I set on top of my suitcase that got moved. So I assumed that they were in my suitcase and I left them there. So definitely a few hours before you leave for the con, make sure you have everything you need with you. So that way, if you're planning to enter a contest and you plan for that specific costume, you're positive that you have it with you.
Okay. So my next question for you is all about age differences in cosplay.
Yeah.
So when I first started cosplaying, I had very little in the way of reference. Like, a lot of my reference stuff is coming from the States, because it's very obviously highly done over in the States and in Canada and such other places, because obviously you guys are a bigger continent than us. So when I was looking at pictures, I did see like family groups doing it, but it looked as if they were just getting dressed up to go to a fancy dress party and the picture was taken in their house, kind of thing. Any other kind of groups or individuals I've seen, I noticed a certain pattern. Like, it seemed to be somewhere, like, age groups I would define somewhere between early teens, like early to mid-teens to mid-30s. So I was like, that must be the demographic. So when I was getting ready to cosplay for the very first time, I thought, right, my demographic is this, so I have to appeal to that demographic. And then when I went to Comic-Con, I was so shocked to find there were people of all age groups. Did you have a similar notion in your head when you first started cosplaying? Did you say, right, it's going to be this specific age group, or did you just go, it's going to be for everyone? Like, there'll be all age groups there.
When I first wanted to get into cosplay, whenever I searched an image, the only thing that would come up are websites that sold the costumes. Mm-hmm. And then I'd do like image searches, and then I'd do forums and everything like that, and I'd get brought to a forum where like people had where 5 people had replied to it. So I think one of the things that prevented me from starting cosplay earlier is because I thought no one was doing it. So I'm convinced to be 5 people there. But then when I later got into my 20s, which is when I started cosplaying, I sort of noticed that it was a big group of people than I thought it was, and maybe it was less people cosplaying when I was like 14 and more people cosplaying when I turned 20, but for the most part, when I grew up, I saw people. It's very hard to gauge one's age online, but for the most part, I thought there were people who were around the ages of 15 to 25, so I thought that was more of the demographic. So again, that was the demographic that I cosplayed characters to fit that demographic, like CL Phantom Hive, because Black Butler was a very popular anime between people who were between 15 and 25. Another cosplay, Shirotani Tadaumi from 10 Count, I cosplayed as him because, again, that was a demographic thing. I thought if I could appeal to a demographic, maybe people would notice me more. So I definitely had the same.
Is that something that you tend to do with your cosplays? That, like, obviously certain characters appeal to certain age groups. Like, for instance, Belle will appear to younger children. Well, will appeal to younger children now. People from my generation will remember Belle for the Disney movie, and I dare say from future generations from mine would know Belle from that as well. Do you specifically single out certain cosplays for certain generations, or do you just go, oh, I'm going to cosplay as this character because I like the character?
I used to cosplay to fit to go more towards the demographic, but now I feel like I just cosplay for myself, because really, if you cosplay to make yourself happy, then that's really all that matters. Like, somebody can say, oh, you suit this character, and you can look more into the character and go, oh my god, I really like this character. Or you can say, oh, all of the newer people getting into animes are watching this anime, and then find a character you relate to and cosplay it, and you're still fitting into that demographic. But for the most part, now I just cosplay characters that I want to cosplay, like Luna Freya. There's one thing that I'll always be an advocate for. If you want to do a gender bend cosplay to make yourself happy so you can see yourself more as that character, then do it, because obviously the majority of my costumes now are gender bend, like Luna Freya, as you've seen, because I spam it on Facebook constantly, my male Belle, the yellow gown Belle, which I haven't really been spamming as often because most of my effort has been going into live action Belle, but
I haven't seen the yellow Belle yet.
I have it right beside me. Do you want to see it?
Sure, let's have a look at it.
Okay. It's just Luckily, I have hangers right beside me, but I got a white fabric and I dyed it yellow. It looks very pale. Like, I look very pale on camera right now. I swear I'm not a ghost, but yeah. I need to stand up to show it, but it's basically just a tailcoat.
That's so cool.
And yeah, luckily I didn't have to make the undershirt, because this is the undershirt that I used for my CL. And then the wig is still the same as my live action belt wig. I just changed the style up a lot more.
That's so cool. Um, okay, so I don't know whether you work with any organisations away from that involve cosplay. I know that Jimmy does. That's part of his job, where he'll go out to like young children's parties and such. Like, so he might be asked to do Peter Pan or Belle or Aladdin. If you were ever asked anything like that, is that something that you would very happily do, or is it something you'd be like, well, I've already cosplayed as that character for X amount of years, so I really want to move on and do, like, say, another character?
I'd definitely be up to work with an organization for costumes. Like, one of the main reasons, like, I've been pushing my cosplay so hard is because there's a quote that I love, and if you love doing something and you're good at it, don't do it for free. But I mean, I'm not going to charge people for viewing my cosplay, obviously, but I would love to make a career out of it because it's something that I love doing, and I would love to have a job that I love. And I think, like, yeah, because Jimmy does the character parties, I would love to just be a part of a birthday party just to make some child's day. Like, there's a character that I cosplayed once and I never brought him back because gray face paint is really uncomfortable to wear. I cosplayed as Marshally for a full day and I had somebody throw a drink in my face, but I would love to do that. I'd love to see the face on a child light up just because they see their favorite character, even if it's a character that I want to move away from. I'd still love to do that just to make the child's day.
Do you know what I find really, really hard? Because I only recently started cosplaying back in, when was it? I think it was August, not last year, but the year before. So like 2015. I had this amazing interaction with a little kid when I was cosplaying as Harley, and it makes it so hard to move away from Harley. You know, and it's just like, I loved that interaction with that kid because he was just so happy to see me. And I totally, in that instance, totally understood why all those people at Disneyland do it.
Yeah.
You know, I totally understood all of that, and I was like, it is so great and so heartwarming to see that smile on a little kid. Have you had that interaction before when you've been at an event when a kid's just ran up to you and is like screaming their head off like, oh my god, you're that character?
I haven't had that instance with little kids, mostly because I do like gender bends, and then like kids get confused, like, oh, that looks like a character that I know, but it's not quite, so I don't think it is. I mostly get that for the most part, I get that with like teenagers that have played, because I did Hope at Calgary Expo last year, and somebody said, oh my god, that's so awesome, I need to take a picture, and then there was another one where this wasn't an intentional cosplay. I was wearing my blue wig with a blue hoodie and blue jeans, and then my friend's like, here, put these fairy wings on, so people thought I was Navi from Legend of Zelda.
Awesome.
So I got a lot of people saying, hey, let's take a picture. So I took a picture with them, and eventually I didn't even get a sign. Somebody just gave me a box that said, hey, listen, so I used it to carry my stuff. But yeah, somebody's just like, I made this for you, and I still have the box. It's what I use to, like, I'm currently packing up like all of my threads and stuff to get them all organized, but it's what I'm using to hold all of my threads and stuff, and it's just a box that somebody gave me that says, hey, listen. So like, it's one of those cosplays, because that experience happened, I want to cosplay Navi, like, legitimately.
And what a nice segue to move into our next kind of part of the questions is props. Now, for me, props fall into 2 categories and then 3 subcategories. So you have, it can go to a Comic-Con, and it can go to only a photo shoot. And then the 3 subcategories will be, oh my god, this prop is large and it breaks my back, but it completes the character. Yep. Oh my god, this prop is, well, you could say, well, this prop is medium sized, so it will annoy me if I'm carrying it around for a portion of the day. You know, it eventually gets heavy by the 7th hour. And then there's your small prop, which is oh so nice. It goes in my pocket and I'm good to go. When you're going to a Comic-Con event, obviously all 3 sizes that I've just mentioned, they depend on the character, but if you're going to a Comic-Con event, which out of the 3 prop sizes are you more inclined to take with you?
Probably this prop is medium sized, but by the 7th hour, it's gonna be a pain and it's gonna hurt my back. There are 2 that I have that, well, yeah, there are 2 that I have. One, you can kind of see it right there.
Yeah, the Keyblade.
It's the Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts. It's heavy. It doesn't look like it would be heavy, but it's heavy. So during Odafest, I was carrying it by my side, but my arm started to hurt because it was so heavy, so I ended up having to rest it on my shoulder. Another one is definitely, again, can be seen, the Trident, Lunafreya's Trident. And although it's medium-sized, it's very, very light, but it's still an inconvenience to carry around because it's so, like, large and it has things that poke out and are definitely going to get caught on something and break something.
Okay. So when you're doing a photo shoot, are you more inclined to take larger props then, or are you still kind of like, I'll go with the medium-sized prop over a large prop?
The majority of my photo shoots, I've only done probably 4 photo shoots. My first photo shoot that I did was CL Phantom Hive. Well, it was my first. I did CL Phantom Hive. He doesn't have any props. My second one was Sailor Moon, and obviously all I need for her was her her crescent one, which is a very small prop, not a big hassle to carry around. And then I did Hope Estime. He has a boomerang, but with a lot of people they choose not to include it because where are you going to put it? He has a magic pouch in his pocket. It doesn't go anywhere in his pocket without being able to stick out, but somehow Final Fantasy made it work. And then another one was Warren Graham, and he doesn't have any props either. So
do you know what I think he does with Hope Est? I'm just sorry to kind of cut you off there, but
oh, no worries.
I think he like hides it because he wears this tiny little jacket when he's a young kid.
Yeah.
And he probably puts it up his back because you can see him pulling it out when they start a fight, and it's like, okay, you can't technically see where he's pulling it out from, but it could either be like the back of his trousers, or he's just pulling it out from his back.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing this study about I think it was native tribes in Africa or something, or in Australia. They have boomerangs as weapons and they use them to hunt. And 9 times out of 10 they carried them on their backs.
Yeah.
So that's probably where he's hiding it. And just nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
Sneaky thought there. But sorry, you were saying your other cosplay doesn't have an awful lot of props.
Yeah, I've only ever had one photo shoot where the characters required a prop. I think I'm probably at Calgary Expo because Final Fantasy 15 is still fairly recent, and because I'm doing a character from that, even if it is a gender bend, I'm gonna have a lot of people taking pictures because I will be with a Final Fantasy 15 group. But yeah, that Trident, I'm still trying to figure out how to pose with it, and I'm still trying to figure out how to maneuver it at a con where I won't actually end up accidentally smacking somebody in the face. But yeah, another
the age-old proverb: "Do I smack this person in front of me in the face with my trident, or do I just try not to?"
Yeah, and then another thing. I'm also doing a Cardcaptor Sakura cosplay which I do have a shoot for, but the prop for that is still, it's just her small staff, which isn't too bad. And then Belle, her props are obviously a book, bread, and then I got the mirror from Hot Topic.
So
So if I pose with this, it'll be fairly easy to pose, and yeah.
definitely. So when it comes to actual props, and this is the interesting question part of this, do you buy your props in ready-made? Do you buy them and customize them? Or do you buy them in from scratch and make them yourself? So which out of the three are you most liable to do?
I'm most likely going to make a prop completely from scratch. Before I even started cosplay, I did prop making. I was a massive fan of Kingdom Hearts, so I made the Wayfinder, Kyrie's Wayfinder, and then when Birth by Sleep came out, I made all 3 of the Wayfinders, gave 2 of them to my friends, and I kept 1 of them. I'm actually working on a prop for my friend Amy, and it's a Samus, Zero Suit Samus, the Paralyzer gun. I was just gonna buy a Nerf gun and spray paint it and then decorate it like that, but then I figured if I can just make it, I'm fully capable of making it, so I'm going to make it. But yeah, my Keyblade was made from scratch, my Trident was made from scratch, my Sakura wand was made from scratch. I made Lightning's knife for Hope, and I made that in like 2 hours because I was leaving for a con and I realized I forgot I didn't have something for Hope. So I made Hope's knife out of just EVA foam that I had laying around. And then other than that, like any other prop that I have, the only other prop that I've ever bought was Belle's mirror. So apart from that, I'm also working on, I had cards printed. I'm just waiting for them to come here. I made the Book of Clow so I could put Sakura's Clow cards in it. So if I can make it from scratch, then I will. I haven't had a prop that I've wanted to make that I haven't been able to make.
On average, like for the likes of your Trident and your Keyblade, how long did it take you to make them?
The Keyblade, it took 2 months to make, not for the fact that it was difficult, just for the fact that when I was making the Keyblade, I was working full time. So I only had probably about 2 days that I could like work on it and make it. So when I finally made it, when I got one section done, I had to go buy materials, but because I worked full time, I didn't have an opportunity to actually get them. For the Trident, I was actually unemployed when I made that. Now I am working full time again, but making the Trident probably took about 3 or 4 weeks to make.
Okay. That's really fun. Do you... Now, the question I've got for you is an interesting... When it comes to making props, do you go through the same process that I do when it comes to making props? You talk to the inanimate object.
Oh yeah.
You ask it why it's not working. Like, why are you not working out an inanimate object? You then start to bargain with it. Say, if you work, then we will be the best of friends, and I will take you places that you'd never dreamed of. Like to a Comic-Con. And then when it doesn't work, you threaten it with violence. You then swear at it, start crying, threaten it with more violence, and then eventually come to acceptance by just saying, right, if you don't want to work, that's fine, I'll go work on a different prop. And then repeat the process over again.
Yeah.
So do you also do that? Or do you have a different method of dealing with prop making?
No, I do that.
Oh, thank God.
The majority of my talking to my prop is me screaming at it, yelling, "Why can't you be this right now?"
Yeah.
I was painting the Trident in my garage, and I went to go bring it into the house, but because Canada, our only two seasons are our only two seasons are fall and winter.
You get 2 seasons? We get 1 in Scotland.
But yeah, the spray paint actually froze when I was out in the garage because it was cold enough to where the spray paint came out of the can, landed on the prop, and froze on it, so it looked like it was dry. I brought it into the house, and it melted and started leaking. So it leaked on our carpet, and I'm just like, I'm looking at it, and I'm crying, and I'm screaming at it. I'm like, why are you melting?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a little story. I have a similar prop that I did that with. I started work on a Harley Quinn Jack-in-the-Box, and I literally, after painting the box, could not get like the red parts of the box to stay on because I glued them on separately. And I used like very thick black enamel paint on the box, so it was like trying to stick a card onto enamel is not easy. So I'm like putting super glue and extra strength glue and any like really physically hard glue that I can find, basically stuff that would just turn into plastic immediately, and it still wouldn't stick. And I'm like, fucking just get on, you stupid box. And the worst of it is that's not even the best part, eventually I got them to stick on, and I was just so happy about that. I was like, thank you, box. Now you and me will not fight. I put you to one side and we won't fight for another week. And then I started work on the head of the actual Jack, and I remember having to go down to my aunt and said to her, like, please help me glue the fabric onto the actual head. And we started work on the pom-poms that would go on either side, and we stitched in one and it was fine. We started stitching in the other one and it was fine, and I put it into the box because I was obviously transporting it. And she said to me, look, if the pom-poms come off or if they come apart, let me know. And wouldn't you know, that very night I got home, I took it out of the box to show someone. One of the pom-poms comes off and immediately starts breaking apart.
Oh god.
And I'm literally was on Skype with somebody at the time, oddly enough, literally had a freaking meltdown. Like,
oh no.
Severe meltdown. And I'm screaming the place down, and my mother comes in to see what's going on, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, pom-pom, and I threw the head somewhere. So, yeah. If you're at home watching or listening to this, I don't know, and you have issues with prop making, we know how you feel.
Oh yeah.
It is okay to scream bad language at an inanimate object. Trust me, we all do it.
The majority of when I was making my props, when I made my Keyblade, I actually lived with my cousin and her 2 children. Mm-hmm. I had my own bathroom, but because it was winter, I couldn't spray paint outside. So I laid down tarps in the shower, mm-hmm. and I laid my prop down and I started spray painting it, and I held the nozzle down towards my face, like the nozzle was towards my face, and I didn't realize. So I went to go spray, and it got my finger, and I got 2 silver streaks down my face. I started screaming. I started crying. I called the hospital because I'm like, I don't know what to do. They're like, what happened? I'm like, I sprayed my face with spray paint. And the lady just paused, and she's like, you did what? I'm like, I sprayed myself in the face with spray paint. And she goes, what, was it a dare? I'm like, no. I just did it. It's a thing that happened. And I think she thought I was prank calling her because she hung up on me. So I called the hospital again. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. It's in my eyes. Do I go to the hospital? And she's like, just call 911.
mean ass operator.
Yeah, and then like
really mean.
Also, the tarps didn't work. Spray paint all over my bath, my shower. Luckily, I didn't pay a damage deposit, so.
That is insane. So, my next question for you is, what opportunities has cosplay opened up for you away from cosplay?
I think it's opened up the opportunity in the fact that I've now moved to a better place. I used to live in a small village. It's the village of Delburn. Anyone can like Google it. I think Google says there are like 800 people there, but at the time that I lived there, there were about 200 people. Mm-hmm. I moved to Red Deer, and in Red Deer, that's how I got into cosplay, just because I had a stepbrother saying, hey, you like anime and you like this stuff, you should definitely get into this, and I'll drive you to your first convention. And then from there, if I hadn't have gotten into cosplay, I probably wouldn't have made the friends that I made. Like, I live with 5 people. All of them I've met through this hobby of cosplay. So it's definitely, I've met like 90% of my friends I've met through cosplay. It's also like the fact that I'm now in a better place where I can be myself, where I'm not afraid to like say, hi, I'm Dustin, I dress up for conventions.
Okay, so that's awesome. Is there any opportunities that you would like to get out of cosplay that you haven't gotten just yet?
I'd like to, like I said before, I'd like to make cosplay a career. Mm-hmm. I'd also love to start my own company where I can help people who want to get into cosplay, or even people who want to make cosplay a job like me. I'd love to open up like my own store or website where I hire people who like make costumes and make props, and people can order their costumes and it's actually going towards cosplayers. Whereas, I mean, there's nothing wrong with ordering from a website like Cosplay Sky or Cosplay Foo. It's because maybe that's the only place somebody could find it. But I'd love to open up a shop where we can do commission work and the money is going towards a cosplayer who is trying to actually make a career out of it, somebody who works hard at what they do. Like, I would definitely do commissions for people. I would definitely make props for people, but I want to give other people those opportunities as well.
Awesome. So my next question for you is, what are your next 3 cosplays? So one that you're doing at your next event, one that you're in the middle of making that we'll see maybe middle of the year, and one that you're thinking about that we might not see until the end of the year. So let's start with your next event. Who are you going to be? Who or what, I should say, are you going to be for your next event?
My next event, I've been working on my Male Bell. That one kind of trumped all of my other projects. Mm-hmm. And then the one that I'm working on after that is going to be male Sarah Farron. I'm going to be doing her summoner's garb.
Awesome.
And then after that, I'm planning on doing Final Fantasy 13 to Final Fantasy 13 to Hope Astime.
Awesome. Okay, so my last question for you before we do the Passover is, what advice would you give somebody who is looking to start cosplaying but doesn't know where to start?
I'd say just start with online references. If there's, I'd say find 3 characters that you really want to cosplay, whether there are characters that you can see yourself as, characters that fit aspects of your personality, or characters that you just want to cosplay just because you think it'd be fun. Look on online forums. They're a great place to start. Also, search for cosplay meetups in your area to see if you can find people who have the same interest in the same character as you, because chances are if they have the same interest in someone who's in a character as you and they're going to a cosplay event, they've probably most likely cosplayed as that person before. So they're a great way to get references as well. Also, for references, places like eBay, Cosplay Foo, Cosplay Sky, Hello Cosplay are great places to start to look for references if you want to make the costume, because they're great ways to get 360 views of them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're planning on buying a cosplay off of eBay, look at reviews. Anything that has a 95% or over is definitely a reputable person to buy a cosplay from.
Awesome.
If you can dream it, do it. Don't worry about what other people will think of you, because all that matters is you're happy. Unless killing people makes you happy, then find another hobby.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, with that, I just want to thank Dustin this time for taking the time out today and spending it with us. If, however, you would like to give us a big thumbs up on this video, because we love our thumbs, myself and Dustin will definitely appreciate that. Also, don't forget to check out other content on my channel, guys, because there are going to be a lot more inside cosplay videos. There will be gaming videos there as well. Just don't forget to hit that subscribe button. However, if you want to hear more from me, you can check out this lovely little website called iGameOnline.net, which is a free sign-up website, guys, and you can catch up with whatever I'm doing on the weekly podcast where I'm joined with Whisper Green Top, Sally, Darkly, Honey Jade, and Georgie Kitty, where we will talk about all the madness that happens in our little week. However, if that kind of thing is not really you, but you still want to hear from me, you can catch up with myself and BVS and a whole host of other people when we do the TV job, when we're sitting talking about a week's worth of TV. Again, though, if TV and talking about random things that happen in your week is so not your cup of tea, you can check out our tabletop sessions, where you can catch up with a whole host of people on a Tuesday night live when we do our Dragonlance episode, which is presented to you, or at least introduced, by the voice of God, Morgan Freeman. Yeah. Voice of God.
Voice of God.
Equally, if Dragonlance is not your thing, but you like Lord of the Rings, that kind of time era, you can catch up with Dylan Trask, Zabi, Estelle, and Theo in our MERP session. And believe me, guys, stuff is getting really, really good in that right now, so catch up with that as best you can. But if you really just want the cosplay stuff, you can catch up with all of these guys on Any UK, which is featured on iGame Online, where you can catch up with Alpha Betty, who I mentioned before, and Kobe Kicks and Little Rascal, and see what kind of events they're going to and what cosplays they're planning. But in the meantime, don't forget to leave a question if you have any questions for myself or Dustin in the comments section down below, and we will both do our very best to try and get back to that particular question as quickly as possible. But if there are any questions that you have that you feel uncomfortable leaving in a YouTube comment section, Dustin is very kindly going to give us some places where we can get hold of him if we have any questions. So Dustin, where can we get a hold of you if we have any further questions?
So you can go to, you can catch me on Instagram at Farron Cosplays, or I also have my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/closeenoughcosplays, where you can see all of my progress photos and ask me any question you have about the making of a cosplay or anything about cosplay, and I'll be sure to answer it.
Awesome. So again, I just want to thank Dustin Estime for taking the time out and spending it with us, helping us trudge through this land of cosplay. So thank you, Dustin, and we'll see you guys again really soon with another interview. Hold on. So we'll see you again with another interview really soon. Bye, guys.